Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Worn and Wound bonus podcast. My name is Devin Pennypacker, the media manager here at Worn and Wound, and today we have a special guest. But first, I'm joined by Worn and Wound co-founder Zach Weiss. Zach, how you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
And our special guest here from Festina, Soprod, Swiss, we have Christian Châtelain. Christian, how are you?
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this early morning, probably late evening for you over there.
Yes.
Don't know if you're too familiar with our podcast here, but we do typically kick it off with a bit of a wrist check here. Are you wearing a watch with us today?
Yes, I have my watch. Yeah.
Awesome. What do you have on?
Yes, it's a personal watch. I don't have a brand. It's 20 years ago. I found a case on the flea market, and I put inside a 7750. Modified. We had a power reserve, and I turned myself the pusher to have it real big pusher. I put a big crown taken from a pocket watch. I cut the dial, so I was to add the new function. I make a beautiful design of the rotor and engrave my name. Yeah, you don't recognize that 7750 rotor. So
very cool.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's very unique piece, and a good teaser, I guess, for the talk to come here.
Yeah, and that's way more exciting than wearing something from a brand. If you make it yourself, it's definitely that's definitely the coolest way to go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no one else is going to be wearing that on an episode here. Zach, what do you have on today?
I have on my Habring Irwin Pilot watch today.
Interesting. Yeah, that's been a popular pick to you lately. I see you posted on Instagram quite a bit.
It's a lovely watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually wore my Douglas Wolbrook X15, the manual wound version today. I figured since we would be probably talking about movements a little bit, I would wear something that just has a bit of that mechanical connection to it, something that I actually enjoy winding every morning. That being said, let's kind of jump into the main topic of the podcast here. Like I said, we're joined by Christian, who is from Festina, Soprod, Swiss. And Christian, you are the movements R&D manager and senior watchmaker over with Soprod, correct?
Yes.
That's awesome. And
R&D manager, movement manager. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. And so obviously you are quite the watch nerd and quite the watch collector, as well as being able to kind of dive into the movements a little bit more than our typical guest here. So we can kind of jump into that later on. But before we get too deep into that, can you give us a little bit of your background here? Something about where you started in watchmaking, how you got into the hobby, and kind of your early years as a watchmaker.
Yes. But I started to the watchmaking where I worked before. I was working for Soprod, and it's a friend of mine who was a technical director. So we had such a good work relationship, and I make parts for Soprod and tooling. And when I wanted to change job, Jean-Michel Nicolet was the technical manager, asked me if I want to join. That's what I did, and I don't regret that decision.
Mm-hmm. And you've been with him for quite some time now, right?
Yeah, it was 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So your formal training in watchmaking, you went to like watchmaking school, or is this something you picked up on your?
I began my my vocational training was a machine tool engineer, and I was my first job was to work at Châtelain. You know Châtelain, the lace machine and milling machine. There is a famous lace machine the watchmaker loves. This is a Châtelain 70. So I watch over there, and I was specialist of the calculation of high velocity spindle, and also project manager for brand new automatic lace, 125 CCN. Yeah. And after I changed job, and I got closer to the watchmaking in a company who makes cutting tools and cutting dies for watchmaking, mostly, not only for watchmaking, but mostly. And it was a new job for me. I have to learn from the beginning everything over there. And I had also the opportunity to work in the workshop. And that's where I learned to know what it is a micron. It's easy to write in a drawings, but to get it in the workshop it's another thing. So and when I start to Soprod, it was no technical office, so I created it, and it was a nice experience. I was alone at the beginning. I have question, and I had the opportunity to make a postgraduate training in watch design, and that was very fantastic because when I started, it was during the evenings, and the courses was given by people from the industry. I took full advantage. I had problem on the day, and at the evening I can ask, and have also a lot of my colleague was from all the brands, Rolex, Watch Group. It was good to do this training.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious too, did you begin as a collector and a watch enthusiast, or is this something that you jumped into more on the tool side of things and eventually developed a passion for it?
I developed the passion afterward.
Okay.
Because started with my first colleague in Soprod, with a lot of guys passionate, and the discussion. I get the passion when I started to Soprod. It was challenging for me at the beginning.
Sure. Yeah, like just jumping. It sounds like quite a change from lathes to watchmaking, but obviously there's a logical sort of connection there, particularly from tooling down. I'm curious. So, like, when you started then at Soprod, like, what was the company like? Like, since it was you alone in the technical, like, what did you make at the time?
At the beginning, Soprod was to it's founded in 1966. It was a group of watchmaker brands. It's to together to buy movement, not movement, but also movement, but also parts. We call ébauche. You know what ébauche is? It's a disassembled movement, parts movement, and they put together to get a better price. And after that was the courts crisis, and everybody said, "Oh, we have no value. No, it makes no sense to continue with this company." But just one guy said, "I believe it's a mechanic. Perhaps it come back one day." And he he buy the totality of Soprod and continue to assembly and sell mechanical movement. Even Swatch Group, we buy at that time I was not there. Soprod buy a lot of 7750, the chronometer value, and even the Swatch Group say if you don't buy us the parts, we close the chain, and but Soprod continue, and after Jean-Michel take the manager director, and they buy parts and assembled by a supplier and sell to the brands. And they needed first to have a control office, and after a technical office. They started to make new product specialties with an independent engineer office, and but it was complicated, and so they decided to engage me.
Interesting. So when did Soprod first like launch its own movements?
It was in the 95.
Okay.
1995.
And so obviously you oh, go ahead, Zach.
Oh no.
Yeah, obviously with you kind of starting off on the tool and die side of things, eventually moving into a bit of design work too, you've kind of been able to build yourself up into the role and help kind of pioneer that branch of Soprod. What does it look like now for you over there? Do you have a team around you? Are you working primarily on
Yes,
innovations nowadays, or are you working still on the ground floor of the movement technology?
we are not a big team. We are small and dynamic, and because we are not a so big company. When we make a new movement, it's give works for the people, and we are three in the technical office. It's not so much, and we have also I manage also the lab where we are testing the watches, the movement, and we are about to make new development. We used to make development for others. They pay the development, and we make a special movement for them, and it's only for them. And also we make specialties, small complication, and we sell to everybody. And before we modified the movement from the Swatch group. We had a power reserve, a small complication, and we started to make our own movement. And we have the courage to develop also our own assortment, hairspring, and escapement. So now we are doing everything in house. Just a few parts we don't make inside the store, the heavy metal. But we started. And when the Swatch group say we don't sell any parts, it was a small catastrophe for for Soprod, but also an opportunity because we still had started to make our own movement, but we did it hidden because we didn't want Swatch group to know, because we make our own movement. But it was obvious when they stopped to sell the moment the ébauche.
I didn't realize that Soprod made their own hairspring and escapement. So are the current movements all outfitted with like your own manufactured hairsprings?
Yeah, we manufacture our own and hairsprings, and it's a real good job. It's a long, tough job, but we have and we with our movement, the Newton, the M100 have only hairspring from us, and we make we can make easy chronometer. Not confused with chronograph. Chronometer, certified Swiss government.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, that's a big challenge, but we are happy now.
That is interesting. I want to you speak about the complications and kind of breaking down the movement to engineer the piece in a very technical way, but you have a romantic view about it still. And I think that there's an interesting blend there for a watchmaker where, us in journalists and in the media, we kind of talk about watches as this romantic vision, and we talk about the movements, kind of how they look and how they operate. But to really break it down on a fine detail like that in developing these complications, I don't know, it's a weird combination of both art and technical ability. And I assume your tooling background really helps in that.
Didn't well understood.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll go on to the next one here. So, speaking of complications, obviously you've worked on quite a few. What are your favorite complications to work on, and why is that?
When it's mechanical, I have pleasure to work on. I work on when something I didn't have made before. That's interesting for me. But also when I know exactly how to do things, it's also a pleasure. Yeah, I don't have I love make mechanic complications, but not one in particular.
Interesting. Yeah, I was wondering if like specifically a passion for like calendars or something, but I think it's a much more of a engineer's sort of answer to enjoy the challenge, which I can appreciate that. Yeah.
When it's complicated, I like when I did first the golf watch at the beginning. was so complicated. The specifications. First night I didn't sleep because how to do this, and I did it, and I make a mock-up, a big mock-up, and when I presented to the client, to Mr. and to be and Yaman, I play with the mock-up. It was working, and they said, "Oh, but there is a mistake in the specification. That's what we want. We have to do the development another time completely."
Oh wow.
So
What did that
re-put
do? Like, what does the golf counter do exactly? As somebody who's a layman in golf,
it's almost like a chronograph. There is a counter at 10 when you count the stroke. Each stroke, when you press, it's counted, and there is in the center a totalizator, and they wanted at the first specification that when you push the next hole, it's a retrograde indication at 6. Next hole, it should the stroke go to 0, and the value of this counter goes to the center counter. And
so it adds it up, so you get the total gain.
Yes, and when you finish, you are at the 18th hole. You have a pressure to put everything to 0 with a heart. It's like a chronograph.
Oh, that's really cool. I've never heard of anything like that. Like, you could almost see an application for that in a chronograph where you could like add up all of your times. That's a wild.
But it's nothing. There is no link with the movement.
No
with
link, right.
The time. It's only a counter. But it was nice to develop.
Well, you mentioned that it kept you up at night. You are having some issues in development there. Is there any other complication that has just been really difficult to work on from an engineering standpoint?
Sometimes the problems are not typical engineering complicated. It's to get the material. When I did the thermometer, I couldn't get it's a bimetallic hairspring, and I got one only with thickness, I don't know, but it was too large, the band, for 0.2 millimeter, and 20 hundredths is too thick, and but the client didn't want to make the complication more thick. I had only 1.5 millimeter, and they didn't want to have 1.8 or 0.7, and I have to find a solution to get the hairspring in the right high. So we found a lot of supplier to do that, and nobody could. It's my father, who was 90, who found the solution. We when the hairspring are together in the barrel before the heat treatment, they are together, and we are able to mill the top of the bands to get a less large band. And he found the solution, and we were able to do it because to make because it no exists so thin. So
that's very cool. I love that. Like, I mean, once again, very uncommon complication these days to have a thermometer in a watch, but it's like, but a thermometer in general is not that uncommon of a thing that it would still have such a like a challenge on such on a material level in our modern world. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that it's like the hidden. I think Devin, you're kind of saying like the hidden stuff behind watchmaking that makes us so excited about it when you hear these stories, right? You can take it for granted, but then you hear that your 90-year-old father helped you solve for this thermometer. That is awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, very, very neat. And I guess based on that too, there's a blending of manufacturing capabilities and then aesthetics. You want the movement to present well to the eventual customer who's going to be looking at it. How do you approach designing the movement and kind of blending the two, the mechanics, while still trying to make it look attractive?
It's between the aesthetic and the techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think for me it's no opposition between techniques and aesthetic. If you made it techniques, it will be aesthetic. If you look at the nature, for instance, everything is for a reason. Everything is I don't know how to say it. It's only techniques. It's for needs in the nature, and that's because the nature is so beautiful. I think because it's close to the technical needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
For instance, when
go ahead, please.
if you take a tree, there is a big trunk is big at the bottom and small at the top. If you and it's harmonic, it's beautiful. If you make the opposite, small at the bottom and big at the top, it hurts the eyes. It's ugly, and even if you're not engineer, it's not good. I think when, for instance, when I have to make a jumper, and I have to make a calculation to optimize the shape to get better forces, resistance of the material. It's always beautiful, more beautiful after the optimization because the shape are in harmony and
it's a true like form follows function situation.
Yeah, it's not in opposition because we are made or created, and it's we found beautiful what it's techniques. I think
that's very interesting. I'm just curious then, also just from the watchmaking and perspective in your own education, like how much of the decoration element, like the finishing side of things, do you have a part of, or is there a whole nother department for that, or how does that work?
It's in the technical office. We decide what we can do for the decoration, and there is sometimes we think without decoration it's cheaper, but not because the decoration is also to hide the imperfection from the production. So we decided we have a decoration with a price, and so we show to our client there is this or this, not the same price. But we hear what the client want.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you accommodate a lot of very custom decoration, or is it really?
Yes, we some clients come and wonder. That was our force from the beginning. Even when we buy a bush from Swatch Group, we make always a beautiful special decoration and personal customized for a client, engraving. And if somebody has an idea, we discuss together and we can make it. But of course, we check if there is no risk, because not it's possible. Not everything is possible. We have to homologate the decoration, and
that makes sense. Yeah, like it would at some point affect the the strength of a movement, for example. If you
Also, if the decoration, the color held in the time when it's aged, or it's not too delicate in the workshop when you take the part and it's a scratch too easy. That's not good. Also,
Interesting.
And to that point too, we talk about decoration, and it is something that us as collectors we see immediately and we take notice of. But then, kind of looking at more of the form following function. What do you wish collectors knew about mechanical watch movements, and what do you wish that they would actually look for in the movement outside of decoration?
Of course, is the performances of the movement. Now we have I'm on a new movement. We are in prototype with new material and the main hairspring, so we can get a better power reserve, and the new material is able to go in a smaller radius in the center, in the arbor, so you can get more time, more turn in the hairspring, so you get longer power reserve. So, for instance, that's it. Because of this new material, we are able to make a new movement with a bigger power reserve.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's a tough challenge that everyone seems to be questing after, is increasing the time on the power reserve, because it is one of those numbers that a lot of us look at pretty quickly.
But it's always a compromise, because every 10 hundredths, it's very important. You can take risk to have the best power reserve. But what do you want? You take risk. I prefer to go a little bit more further to have a very strong movement, because it doesn't change the life when you have 60 instead of 65 hours. It doesn't change the life of the customer, but it's a stronger movement, and that's good. I prefer to go a little bit not so far, because it's the power reserve is only a question of room, space for the mainspring, in diameter, in height, and if you have the thickness of the barrel drum, you can make very fine. Get few hours more, but it's very difficult to produce, and it's a lot and you have to decorate. There is you have to negotiate every hundreds.
I'm curious, like with increasing the power reserve, and thus increasing potentially the tension in a barrel, like how much does that affect also the torque down the line? Like I imagine
you should have the same torque.
You should, yeah.
Because the torque gives you the amplitude. You should have the same, but you play with the thickness of the main hairspring. So you to get the same.
Okay, I see.
To the same torque.
Well, and you mentioned, I mean, obviously you're doing a lot of R&D on future movement tech and trying to improve the performance of your watches now. Being kind of a small and more nimble team, what does that cycle look like? Obviously, you still have to produce movements for the watches that you are supplying. How much room is there for R&D? Are you able to commit a decent amount of time to that? And I guess what separates Soprod from the rest? Being so small, does it allow you to then innovate a little bit more? Or are you more focused on, trying to work with the client?
I'm not from the marketing department, so I can say that we are best from the other. I don't know, because I don't know. I won't say that, but what I can say is that we are a small, dynamic team. We do a really good job together. We have beautiful, reliable movement, and we are courage to make our own escapement, and I think we are proud of what we do, but it's difficult to compare. Of course, we want every day more power reserve.
I am curious.
For me, it's important to have a strong movement. So you can assembly and not have take too much time to adjust the stones, because there is no room. Prefer to have a tractor, something very perhaps a little less performances, but your assembly it works.
I'm curious, with something like the Newton movement, which has like a design that's very different from a 28-24, let's say, but maybe a size that it can work in similar watches. Like, what was the intention on creating your own design versus, say, doing more of a clone type of situation?
When we have our own movement with our own design, beautiful design, if I'm a customer, I don't have the same movement as a million of people. That's for me, it's a must to have a movement that produce million of millions, and it works as well. The performances are similar, and but it's a special movement. Not everyone has the same. With 2824, there is a copy, and we have also a copy from this caliber. So yeah. But to have a new tone and a new caliber, it's something special, I think. If you're a collector, for me it's a must to have a special movement.
With something like the full bridge on the Newton, like, was that also more to make a difference, or is that really a strength concept to create like a stronger, more structurally sound movement?
Excuse me.
I might be asking it oddly. So on the Newton over the balance, like, you have the full bridge connection, correct? Versus
Yes.
the balance cock. Was the decision to make the full bridge, is that a strength decision? To make it
the bridge, the balance bridge with go across.
Yes.
That's I think it's more it's a technical reason from the shock, and it's better. I think it's better to have it. It's modern. It's new. The new caliber has also a bridge who cross both side of the balance.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's uncommon. It's less common, at least in the movements that we see on the on every day. I think some higher end brands use it, and then but yeah, so it's just cool to see that.
But I prefer to have a bridge who cross. I prefer it. It's more beautiful, and with the shock, it's better.
Yeah, no, I like the symmetry it creates from an aesthetic perspective. Yeah, certainly.
It's pure shape and symmetric.
Cool.
Speaking to kind of the preferences, I guess, of how the movements are built and how they look, Christian, to kind of wrap this talk up here, what would your ideal movement look like? What is the thickness? How long would the power reserve be? Would you go for a manual or an automatic? Your dream watch movement, what does that look like?
Yeah. As a watch designer, I would say it's easy to produce and easy to sell movement. But as a collector, I want all movement, all type of movement. The new with a good feature, old with a story, to have a mechanical hand, manual winding, automatic, one direction, two direction. If you are a collector, you want everything, one of each. Because even old movement, they are perhaps not so good that new, but there is a history, and perhaps there is a leak point. But you love mechanics, so if you can deal with leak points, you know how to manage it, to respect the movement and get also a good precision with the old movement, and that's also a pleasure. It's all mechanical movement.
Oh, yeah, I think that makes sense. Looking from a technical perspective, you definitely want one of each in your lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is tough, like, as a collector, to sort of balance all of those things, those things at once. Especially the history with the other side of things. I mean, especially with a lot of brands being younger or like new, independent watchmakers who just start from the ground up, even they are inspired by the Breguets of the world and whatever, but ultimately it's a brand new movement. That's actually an interesting just thinking about it, like, what do you think about that sort of like emulating like the classic movements, the classic pocket watch movements versus really efficient modern design?
Versus, you said,
Like
it's all
like in your ideal movement, would it would it look more like a vintage pocket watch, or would it be like a very pure modern?
I love
Yeah.
the pilot watch.
Mm.
So that's I always loved it, and but I love also the brand new design like Richard Mille, where we cutting the cord and
Mhm.
more like an engine from a run car than an old movement. I love both.
Mhm.
I
What,
mean,
what,
we are preparing also a skeleton version of the new movement with it's very modern, not no tradition, no old stuff. It's also beautiful.
Oh, very cool.
We try to do it something special.
Excellent. Yeah, look forward to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Christian, Zach, thank you both for joining us on this bonus episode of the Warner Mod podcast brought to you by Festina, Soprod, Weiss. I really appreciate you guys joining us here. For the audience out there, if you are listening, please do follow us on all of the relevant socials, especially our Worn and Wound YouTube channel, which has grown quite a bit. And we're working on some really cool new projects coming up in the near future, including potentially something involving this chat here. You can follow us, obviously, in our Slack Plus community where you can get involved in the conversation. Until the next one, I don't know how we sign off the end of these.
Thank you. Thank you, Yusha.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not Zach Weiss. I'm Devin Pennypacker. So we'll just say thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Christian, so much for joining us. This was great talking to you.
Apologize for my English.
Oh, no, you did good.
That was fantastic. Yeah, thank you for joining us on this chat.